Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sikes. My name is Sikes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out last week's episode with Chelsea and Marie of the Sad Girls Aquatics Club. If you're one of the people who listened to that conversation, I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks so much for coming back. But for those of you out there who are new to the show, welcome! Please feel free to make yourselves at home, and as always, there's beer and soda in the fridge. So, what's shaking? How's everybody's week going? My week's been pretty fun. We had that Sikes and the New Violence show this Friday at the Smiling Moose with our friends in Abstract Theory, Walkman, and BB Guns. Due to some circumstances with the venue and the early show that evening, our show ended up getting pushed back about an hour and a half or so, but the show still happened. People still came out, and everybody seemed like they had a good time. So if you were there, I really appreciate you for sticking out past your bedtime and coming. There was a few people that were actually happy that it was pushed back because they had work and other obligations keeping them from getting to the show at the time it was supposed to start. So I guess it was nice for those people, but I also know that there was some people that had came out to the show that ended up leaving early just because they couldn't hang that late. And some people I think just got scared off from coming out at all once they heard about it being a later show. So gonna try to make it up. We're actually playing again with Sikes and the New Violence in the South Side at Club Cafe next month on March 16th. I'll get into some upcoming dates later about that. But if you want a chance to see us and you are a South Sider of the Pittsburgh area and you didn't get to catch us this weekend, you got an opportunity next month. So hopefully you come out for that. And that's an early show next month, by the way. So definitely if you're a sleepy person and you can't stay up late, this one's an early one. So moving on, another thing that's going on this weekend, we're actually in the middle of recording with Greywalker. A few episodes ago, I had a two-parter with my friend Sid Riggs, and we're actually tracking with him right now. I'm heading over there in a couple hours. I'm doing vocals today. That should be fun. We're working on a little surprise track. I'm not going to say much more than that, but it's sounding really great, and working with Sid has been an awesome experience. So I'm excited to be able to share that with all of you whenever the time comes and we finish the track. Last week on the show, as I mentioned earlier, I had Sad Girls Aquatics Club, and they just dropped a music video this weekend. It came out on Friday for their song Oh Billy. It's a really fun video. The song's really catchy, and if you haven't listened to that album yet, you should really check it out. It's called Vodka Wine. It's available on Spotify and all your streaming platforms, and the video is available on YouTube and Facebook and all that stuff. Look them up. Sad Girls Aquatics Club, Chelsea and Marie. I had a blast talking with them. They're both really nice, super talented, really good band. So if you're into good things and nice people, highly recommended from me. Yes. Let's see. Some upcoming shows. Got a couple dates this month coming up. This Friday, February 15th, I'm going to be on my DJ shit for MySpace Night at Brillo Box. If you've been to a MySpace night before, you know what it is. It's essentially a, mid to late 2000s dance party featuring music from a wide variety of genres, everything from My Chemical Romance to Soulja Boy and anything in between. So if if you grew up in the MySpace era and have a bit of a guilty pleasure connection with some of the songs that were popular in that time frame and you like to dance and maybe have a few drinks with your friends, come on out to MySpace Night. Friday, February 15th at Brillo Box, 10 p.m., $5 cover, 21 up. Come on out. And then on the 23rd, we got the polar opposite of MySpace Night. It's going to be Heavy Metal Night at the Warehouse. That is a Greywalker headlining show at the Get Hip Warehouse where I work. My day job is at Get Hip Records. We're having a metal show there in our new venue space. Greywalker's headlining. We got our friends in The Breathing Process, Victims of Contagion, and Plague Wielder coming out to play with us. That's going to be a lot of fun if you're into heavy, fast shit. We're going to have some beer and stuff if you're into that. Hanging out in the warehouse, throwing back some beers and headbanging. That's the show for you. That's going to be February 23rd, as I mentioned, at the Get Hip Warehouse. That is, I think it's like $7 or $8 to get in. I don't remember, but it's all ages. So come on out to that February 23rd. Mark your calendars. And let's get into some listener questions. What do you say? Cool. Brandon asks, are voluntary restrictive diets, vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free, whatever, an act of privilege? That's a spicy question, Brandon. The first thing that comes to mind is that Travis Barker was recently on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I gave it a listen because I'm interested in Travis Barker and the life that he's lived. He's a pretty interesting person. And he talks about in that episode how, he's been vegan for a large chunk of his life, but whenever he got in that really bad plane crash a few years ago and he was in the hospital, he pretty much had to eat meat because there was nothing really available for him on his diet. So if you're thinking about, this being like a social privilege, I guess in some circumstances it totally is to have like a vegan or vegetarian or whatever diet, because in his circumstance, like he was in a hospital and he didn't have the privilege of being able to eat, at all and being able to stay healthy. So he had to eat meat in order to keep his body going, from what I understand. And, but then there's also like financial privilege when it comes to stuff like this. And I could think of some people that are, like, I guess like a dramatic example would be like some punk people that I know that have been punks, living that DIY life, living vegan for a long, long time, like way before, grocery stores had sections dedicated to eating meatless, and there was all these restaurants and things like that. I think, there are people that, were already living pretty like, economically and financially conscious, but also able to achieve a vegan diet on, on that sort of a budget. And I guess there's also the privilege of just education and knowledge. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand, that eating vegan isn't necessarily that. It could be pretty unrestrictive, honestly, if you have the knowledge to go with it. Definitely vegetarian, definitely gluten-free, all those things. Like, there's a lot of options. But if you don't have, the privilege of the access to information to learn about these things, then in that way, I suppose it could also be a privilege. But, like relating it to my diet in the way that I eat, for the past pretty much a decade, I've been pretty much a vegetarian. I still eat sushi and fish from time to time. It's definitely, I haven't touched any white meat or red meat, turkey, chicken, beef, any of that stuff since about 2011. I haven't had any of it. I think accidentally I ate, bacon once or twice on things that I had ordered, and, it wasn't clarified that I didn't. So it's happened, but not intentionally. Do I really feel like it's a privilege for me? Socially, not necessarily. I don't know, because I think it's just as easy for me to buy meatless as it is meat. The same people go into the grocery store that are buying whatever they're buying in terms of their normal diets. It's the same store I'm going to. We're probably spending about the same amounts of money too. So financially, I don't think it's that really different either, because I guess I've had the privilege of learning over time and the access to knowledge of what I can and can't eat, and the experience of, learning how to do it in a way that isn't like financially overbearing. So I suppose ultimately, yes, it's an act of privilege, but I also think we're kind of splitting hairs. Watching this video right now, having access to the internet is an act of privilege. Having a house to record this podcast in is a privilege. Having the shoes that I'm wearing, the shirt that I'm wearing, all of this stuff is a privilege in some way. So I don't know how technical or how nuanced we want to get, but overall, yes, I would say the voluntary restrictive diets are an act of privilege, but in some ways not. I don't know. It just depends on your perspective. Everybody's different in your life situation. Next question. Ryan asks, artistic integrity versus playing covers for money. How far is selling out? The term selling out has always rubbed me the wrong way, because I think anybody has the right to make money however they choose. And if you were to take, the normal person working the normal day job, desk job, food job, whatever, that also happens to be a musician, and give them the opportunity to make a couple hundred extra bucks on a weekend, just playing some music with their friends in a bar that they didn't write. Why not? Like, I don't have a problem with that. I don't think it's selling out, putting some extra money in your pocket to help, fund whatever the fuck you want to do in your life outside of that. I have no beef with that. With me personally, I don't play in any cover bands or anything like that, but I do DJ nights, which is kind of, it's not exactly the same, but it's similar. I'm playing other people's music for a profit in some way, but I mean, that's extra income that I get to put into, funding records I release, or paying for this camera equipment, or, taking my fucking girlfriend out for a nice night or some shit like that. Like, all that money goes into things that are productive in my life. And the way I look at it is, look, if, you're not the person that's, playing in the cover band, or if I'm not the person that's, at Brillo Box DJing, somebody else is going to be in my place making that money. So why not you? Why not me? Life's too short. If you have a good, honest way to make a living that doesn't affect anybody or hurt the people around you, and you're providing a service, entertainment for people that are going out on the weekend or whatever day, do it. Make the money. You're not a sellout. Anybody that thinks you're a sellout is fucking corny. I don't think anybody that on the level that, a lot of us are on, just being independent entrepreneurs in some way, and trying to, make something, trying to sustain music. I don't think that's selling out. A couple hundred, but yeah, making a couple hundred extra bucks on a weekend isn't selling out. It's not. Sorry. Julia asks, oh boy, we got a book. We got a book here. All right, so check this out. I listened to a super in-depth discussion on the origins of metalcore and various other subgenres last week. I myself am admittedly not particularly well versed in the subject, but after hearing a little more about the history, I kind of get why people have found it necessary to categorize the various idiosyncrasies of metal, hardcore, punk, and whatnot. I've heard a lot of people in the scene scoff at the idea of all the different subcategories in heavy music, and would have been inclined to agree that it always seemed a little pretentious to me, although I honestly really enjoyed learning about the subject. What's your take? Do you think it's important for artists to have a specific definition of what they play, and how many subcategories do you think are relevant in current times? To me, I think metal in particular, any style of music, but we'll just say metal. It's like a buffet at an Indian restaurant. Generally speaking, I love Indian food, so I'll probably like whatever they have available at the buffet, but it would kind of suck to try and pick out what I wanted to eat if nothing was labeled appropriately on the buffet. So, because it's good to generally have some sort of an idea of what you're getting into before you put it on your plate and eat it. Something might not be... Even though I like Indian food, something, might not be spicy enough, or something might be too dense to eat a lot of it, or something might just be kind of bland and blah. That being said, the use of hyper specific subgenres doesn't really bother me. What bothers me is when people base their opinions of an entire subgenre off of just a couple bad experiences. There are hundreds of Indian buffets out there, probably thousands, and some of them are going to have some pretty shitty representations of a chickpea curry or tikka masala, but that doesn't mean that those particular dishes are inherently bad. It all comes down to the cooks and how those cooks choose to present those dishes, how they choose to prepare them. And so my end thought on this topic is that, while it's probably necessary to label things accordingly so people know what they're eating, I also think people who really care about enjoying new culinary experiences, if you will, or new musical experiences, should never be so quick to dismiss something based off of an inaccurate representation of what the thing is truly supposed to be. So, But yeah, that's it. Metal's an Indian buffet. It's not all I like Indian food, but all of it isn't good. It's important to have the labels and know what I'm going to eat, but I also think that, sometimes if you find yourself in a new place and there's another something that looks appealing to you, even if you've had it before and like you weren't into it, don't shut your doors off to something just based off of, past experiences. Not only do people prepare things different, but over time your tastes grow, your palate changes. The food that I liked 10 years ago is not the same as it is now. And that's honestly the same for music. Anything that you are consuming in one way or another. If you weren't into like fucking metalcore 10 years ago, there might be a metalcore band out there now that's like exactly right for you. Who knows? You'll never know though, unless you like leave that door open for opportunity and don't always be so quick to dismiss things. But at the same time, I mean, sometimes we do really know our palates and we know what we prefer, and like some food just isn't for us. We know it. And that's totally fine too. Like if you know something isn't for you, that's cool. Just don't be a dick about what other people like. Nobody is that important to ever be a dick about what other people like. So just be cool. And if somebody likes something that you don't be shitty about it. And if somebody is shitty to you about something that you like, have some empathy and say like, hey, I'm really sorry. It must be hard to be such a loser. And see where that gets you. One more question. Not really a question. It's more of a request. Mile asks, how many Legends of the Hidden Temple challenges do I have to complete to get on an episode? Well, you fucking bodacious blue barracuda of a boy, you. Just ask and you can come on. We can chat about Legends of the Hidden Temple or whatever you want, or guitar or anything like that. So if you're listening, Miles, just hit me up and we'll link up sometime and we'll fucking do it. We'll bring the camera. We'll chat about some stuff. It'll be tight. And that's going to be it for listener questions today. All right. So moving on to today's episode. I am joined by two members of the band Kiwano Sour, Dylan and Rob. We're going to talk about the history of their band, some cool stuff they have coming up, and hey, meeting people on the internet and talking to strangers and all that stuff. So let's get into the conversation. We'll get into meeting Dylan and Rob, learning about the band, and it's fun. It's cool talking to people, meeting new people, strangers, stranger danger. Sit back, relax, and let's start the motherfucking beat. That cadence was way wrong, but it was kind of tight. Word. Rolling. All right, here we go. So here we are. Now I have like some pretty important questions.
What's that?
So I don't know either of you two.
Correct.
I've never met you before in my life. I've seen your band play a couple times, once or twice. But who's Dylan and who's Rob?
Dylan. I'm Rob.
Good to know, officially. For myself and for our viewers. Say hi. How's everybody doing today? Happy Sunday.
Indeed.
For those of you out there that haven't read the episode title or just can't put two and two together, Dylan and Rob are from the band Kiwano Sour.
Kiwano Sour. That's right.
So I normally don't do this when I'm describing bands, but the description that is on your Facebook page is so immaculate and perfect. I'm just going to read it verbatim now.
I don't even know it.
Kiwano Sour is a Pittsburgh funk band that gets you on your feet, moving and grooving to a delicious mix of old and new, soulful vocals, downright dirty funk bass, wonder who wrote that, percussive guitar, and drums that are tighter than your pants with a tablet in your pocket.
A tablet, nice.
It all joins together for a journey of sound that will leave you wanting more. Here to make you groove, grooves that make you move. Moving makes you feel alive.
Little rhyme.
Yeah.
Little lyrical tagline.
And that's it. That's
Very
tight.
nice.
I know that the two of you were not the original anticipated members of the band that were supposed to be on. So I appreciate you coming in last minute to step in.
B-squad.
Do the thing
Happy to be here.
for your crew and all that stuff. So, Dylan and Rob, what are your respective instruments in the band? Actually, I was smart enough to write this down. Dylan plays guitar. Rob plays saxophone.
Do.
I did my research. Or you told me through text message before we got here. So let's get into Kiwano Sour a bit. I know it's a relatively new project. It's like under a year old, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
6 months or so.
And you're getting ready to release an EP, the Boogie Funk Daydream,
Yes.
right? That's going to be on Valentine's Day. That's coming out. And you're doing your album release show on February 16th at Cativo.
Indeed.
Correct.
So when did the band get started last year? Like around what time was that?
I joined, I think, early April, via just like a Pittsburgh musicians collective page,
Oh, really?
and just like an ad out there, like looking for horn players. And I think Sam posted it. I think the idea started a little before that, mainly with Sam Kissick and Jeff Bland. Yeah,
Nice.
Dylan came a little later.
Yeah, I joined in like was it the end of June or end of July? One of the two. But it was a similar situation. I saw like a internet thing that was like need a funk player for these 2 shows. I was like, I'm free those days. I'll play a couple shows, and I went for like practice with them, and it was sweet. So
That's super cool. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not uncommon for people to find musicians on the internet. You know, now
Yeah,
in
yeah.
this time we're living in, the internet,
Mhm.
social media, it's pretty cool.
It can
Yeah,
be
right.
convenient.
But what's really impressive for me is that this project is barely a year old and there's already a project coming out.
yeah,
That's pretty cool, and I think it's a good testament to how well everybody gels together and how like talented everybody is in the band. They're pretty tight. It's a lot of fun. So, you know, getting together and meeting those dudes for the first time, was it like complicated grooving in with them, or did you find it pretty natural just kind of slipping in?
No, it was pretty easy for me because they only had like 4 or 5 songs when I joined in, and they had like a couple guitar players before me kind of work out parts, so they had basically an idea of what they wanted for all the tunes I had to learn. So that was pretty simple. I just put my own little spin on it and made it comfortable. But and then all the tunes we've written since then have come together pretty quickly. It's just like somebody has a riff,
Yeah.
and then Jeff listens to it and like busts out the whole lyric sheet in like one sitting. So it's nice working with these guys. Everybody's
Yeah.
super talented and just like rearing to go all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Well, you're gonna say something. I'm sorry.
My situation was a little bit different. Just when we joined, obviously we didn't have original material. We kind of had to make that as we go along. But in the beginning, we were playing a lot of covers, and most of them did not have a saxophone part. So I was just kind of trying to fit my way into that, and some unique covers came out of it. But it's just when we write our own music, like I generally do more of my writing like towards the end, and
Yeah.
fit into what these guys do. Like they're just like songwriting machines, and they come up with grooves, and then I try to add another layer to that.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
With like saxophones or horns in general, they tend to be kind of like an auxiliary, like an afterthought. Like it's like they put together the outfit, but like you're the dope watch that really sets it off.
The
Yeah.
sprinkles on
Yeah,
top.
yeah, the salt and pepper,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
With playing in a band and writing to stuff that essentially, the question I want to ask, let me rewind in my thought. How often do you guys get to contribute to the songwriting? Because it seems like I imagine Sam's probably pretty like, not in a bad way, but
Yeah.
just like I have all these fucking ideas.
He does.
Oh,
Yeah, he's a machine with the ideas. So
He is.
it's just like picking. Like we'll get together because we have like a practice spot on the south side, and so that there's usually some combination of us that are over there at any given time. So he'll just be like, wrote this riff today, and but then like 10 minutes later he'll do that with like 2 other completely different riffs that could each be songs on their own. So it's
Uh-huh.
just a matter of like picking one and like, all right, where do we want to go from there?
I think a lot of the members of the band like have that kind of spark in them, and that drive and that creativity. I just think that for whatever reason, he is just totally driven and can just generate. I'm sorry, I
Quality stuff, dude.
yeah.
Constantly.
I think that as an artist, sometimes it's really easy to get lost in your head and thinking that something isn't ready, you know, trying to perfect every
Yeah.
little thing. But then there's that opposite mentality where there are people that can just, you know, they do stuff. Okay, here it is. It's ready. Good to go. Let's move on to the next thing.
Mhm.
And I think there's good and bad to both of those things. But
Yeah.
it's funny with Greywalker, which is the metal band that I play in. It's a very opposite scenario, you know, whereas like it's a very meticulous time. The process for writing songs it takes a while because it's all I don't know, it's just the way that we do stuff. And I think for them too, a lot of the time it's like, oh, I figured out this fucking riff, now I got to figure out how I can actually play it that fast. And like
Yeah.
like practicing and like getting it up to speed to
And
be
you
able to
guys-
actually perform it.
You guys like mess around with, like different time signatures and stuff. I know that's
Occasionally
metal
we're
thing
not like
sometimes.
we're not crazy progressive. We're a little bit more standard, but we're
Cool.
still pretty fast.
Yeah, and that's if like one part's not like super locked in, you know, you can tell.
And-
so yeah, that kind of stuff would definitely take a lot of work.
And I think that, you know, along with Kiwano Sour, I think that we have a really big emphasis on we want to play the stuff live. This is why
Yeah.
we're doing it, you know. With the EP that's coming out, let's talk about the recording process and what that was like. You know, where did you record it?
Audio Bridge in Cheswick
Okay,
with Ryan Wood. Man.
cool. Had
Sweet
had either of you like recorded on an album prior to this with any other projects?
No, that was my
No.
first studio experience.
So
That's
that's pretty
sweet.
fucking cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was exciting.
super Sweet.
Did you find the studio experience to be nerve-wracking at all, or was it pretty relaxed? I know for some people it could be kind of weird, like, you know, actually playing stuff, like recording and then hearing it played back, and like
Yeah, no,
it's like hearing your own voice on the phone, like on
Right.
a recording for the first time.
yeah, it's always weird.
Yeah.
No, it was a super relaxed environment, but it was a little strange because we tracked it so the bass and drums tracked together, and then everybody else kind of went individually. Or I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
Did Ollie track with the bass and drums? No, he did it. Okay, yeah. So,
yeah, we did bass and drums first.
yes, and then I went in on like a separate day and was just in there like by myself in headphones, and that was
I
super
imagine-
strange. Like because I, you know, couldn't because that was I think before the sax or what was I the last? I don't remember, dude. But
I think you did come in after we did
Oh, okay.
saxes.
But still, it was just weird to like be because everyone else in the band was like in the room.
Oh yeah,
you know,
they're,
just
they're in the
like,
control
watching.
booth just
Yeah.
watching you.
just watching,
And
so-
that's not like as loud as you're used to, and like
Mhm.
you can't feel the drums.
Right,
Like
exactly.
it's so weird at first. Like
yeah, but like I got used to it pretty quick, and it was
Yeah.
it was a positive.
It
Experience.
takes-
Definitely felt some nerves, but it was like an exciting nerves. You
yeah,
know?
it's
'Cause
just
it means something to you, you know. And you're putting your name on it, and you want it to be good, you know.
absolutely.
But overall, fun. And it's just a lot of fun.
How many
sitting around
tracks
playing
are
with
on-
toys?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
Such a dick. How many tracks are on the EP?
5.
5. Cool. How long did it
Handful.
take you guys to do the project, recording wise? Or
It's hard to, hard to put a number because it was
so
like
scattered?
Yeah, it was like split
A
up
little
into
scattered,
a
yeah.
certain amount of days.
Yeah. It could be hard whenever, and we're not. None of us are in a position where we have like a record label paying for us to just hang out in the studio
Right.
all week. So it's like, you know, when can I get off work?
Time
When
is
can I
money.
squeeze in here and that and all
Yeah.
that shit?
Mm-hmm.
Did I'm assuming everything was tracked live then, like all the drums and everything. There was no like computer shit done.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
track
There was
live.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what made me think about that was that's the cool thing about bands like you guys versus like what I have to deal with a lot of metal, whereas like a lot of heavy metal bands like to record in a way that's not even recording. It's like computer programming because they're just like they're doing all the drums with the computer and replacing them with live drum samples, and it's like,
oh man, I didn't even realize it. That
oh,
happened.
it's fucking silly.
Damn.
It's ugh. But yeah. So, but what I was saying was that with us, we just try to always write stuff that we know we could play live,
Yeah.
so we can like put on a good show. I think that's kind of like the end goal for us, and I would imagine you guys as well. It's just
I think we share that philosophy. I mean,
putting together that groove.
Anything
to
you
make
hear
a move.
Anything
That's
you would
right,
hear
that's
that
right.
we would record, like what you see is what you would get.
Yeah.
We'd sound very, very much the same if you saw us live, and I think that's something.
I think that's what I dig about bands like you guys and just other bands that are doing more like, I don't want to say traditional sounds, but like nothing that's like super crazy, because a lot of the times, like being so tied into metal, I'm always getting sent this stuff. It's like, check out this band, they're crazy, and I hear it and I'm like, oh yeah, this is crazy.
Definitely,
but
the crazy is a good word for it. No.
It sounds like a bunch of computers going crazy. I don't know, can they actually do this live? Like, it just sounds so inauthentic, and it's like, it's crazy to a point that there's like no like emotion or like real feeling in it. It's like, man, like I appreciate this level of intensity.
Yeah,
it's something to behold.
It becomes like an intellectual appreciation instead of like a feeling. You know?
But like I think that overall, I think the feeling is so much more important than
Definitely.
the nerdiness of it.
Yeah.
But it can be a fine line. I mean, you got all this funk stuff that's in Kiwano Sour, and there's like that ability to be technical, but being technical in like a tasteful way that's catchy,
Right.
that could still like,
Still
create an
feels good.
earworm and have like a cool little hook.
Yeah, as long as it feels good, that's just the aim for every minute.
How did you get your start, Dylan, with like getting into funk guitar and playing that style of music?
Well, so I started playing guitar in like 10th grade, and I started just like strumming acoustic, like playing Jack Johnson songs, and then I wanted to take it a little more seriously, so I started, like, I got a nylon string and started learning classical and jazz and stuff. And then when I went to college, I went to a music festival and saw Humphreys McGee the first night.
Okay.
And I was just, it flipped the switch, I think, because then I just wanted to like rock after that. And that's the, funk and rock there's a lot of intertwining in like the feeling. Just, yeah, there's like, I feel like dirt and like dirty is a good adjective.
Sure, that fuzz
in the middle.
Yeah.
There. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I guess that's Humphreys McGee, dude. They flipped the switch.
Gotcha. What about you, Rob? Like, with sax, I don't know if either of you play any other instruments, so I'm just asking about like the ones you play in Kiwano. But
we both play a bunch of stuff.
I'd imagine so.
Yeah.
That's how most of you fucking freak kids are nowadays. I say kids, like I don't even know how old you are.
Last night, dude, I felt like an old man after the show we played last night. Oh, bunch of high school kids, but they absolutely shredded, dude.
Yeah,
that's nuts.
Age is a number. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with music.
And I think, this is a topic that we can get into in a second, but I'm gonna save it right here. I'm gonna put the idea in my hand, and I'm gonna hold it, and hopefully I don't forget it. I probably fucking will. But Rob, sax. How did you get into that?
Yeah. I grew up, there was a lot of music in my family. I had a bunch of older siblings, so I was always watching them, as they played in band and other things growing up. But I started with clarinet maybe in about second grade, somewhere along there. And when I got to middle school, a lot of my older siblings, again, were in high school, and I saw them playing in the jazz band, and I just really wanted to do that. So I got ahead of that and switched to saxophone and in between 7th and 8th grade, and been playing since.
Awesome.
Took it to college with me for a little while into undergrad, and been rolling since.
Sick.
Yeah.
So this idea that I had in my hand has to do with kids and talent. And I think that one of the positives of all of this crazy fucking music that people are making nowadays is kids are coming up and they're thinking it's normal.
Yeah.
So they're like learning how to play this crazy shit because that's what's normal to them.
Right.
Versus maybe stuff that, any of us may have came up listening to, you know what I mean? It was just like, when I was a kid, it was like grunge. And
I was like
now,
pushing it.
Now there's like
Anything
kids that
you
are
could
listening to
possibly
shit
think
like
of.
Chon and Polyphia and stuff
Dude,
like that. That's
Chon is
fucking
awesome.
psychotic.
Yeah.
And it's like, no wonder there's fucking like, 10-year-olds that are shredders at guitar because they're listening to shit like that.
It was like, yeah, this is like the norm. So I got, and like, it's all, musicians want to be the best they can be, always want to push yourself. And if that's what you're surrounded by is just crazy fucking talent.
And other people
then,
that push themselves.
Yeah. It's just a festering pool of that creates
awesomeness.
Yeah, sure.
I
Something
got
like
you,
that. But I was trying. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Really,
No, I know what you mean, man. Prior to Kiwano Sour, what was your individual relationships with any sort of a local music scene or underground music scene? Were either of you tied into that in any way?
No, not really. Other than stuff with school, I went to Case Western in Cleveland for a while, was involved in stuff there. But since then, no, nothing really in terms of getting out and playing gigs.
Did you ever go to any shows or you're just like really disconnected from it?
No, definitely still as a viewer.
Okay, yeah. But like as
playing,
a participant.
playing, no.
Yeah.
As a participant, no. Just no.
What about you?
When I first moved here, like 2 years ago ish, I went to the music. I moved into Dormont, and I went to the music store, Lawrence Music, there, and met a dude. And I was just like, I just moved here, trying to like meet people to play with. And he told me about a couple open jams, and the first one I went to was the one at James Street, and that was still happening, that was sweet. And I just met I met a guy named A Money there. That was the first guy I played with. He's like a singer songwriter that needed a guitar player. So I just like played with as many and
networking and getting
as many
all that
different
stuff. Where did
people
you
as I
come here
could.
from?
Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Frederick,
Like
Maryland.
the first solid group I found, I went to a vinyl night at the Park House and met Jordan, the bass player from a band we're both in, actually, Bow Tank.
Okay.
And he knew I brought a Wolfpack album and a Bernard Wright album, and he was like, "You funky?" Essentially, I was just sitting next to him at the bar. I was like, "Yeah, man." He was like, "I play bass, I play guitar," and then just started jamming, and that's still going on. We're about to release an album with them in the next couple months. That'll be sweet.
Oh no shit! So you recorded that too?
Yeah.
So was that
we
recorded
that
after the
in,
Kiwano album then, or was it like around the same time?
No, around the same time.
Yeah.
November.
Did you do that at the same studio?
The tracking was a little after most of the tracking that we did for Kiwano, but yeah.
At the same studio, or did you record that?
No, we did that at Very Tight.
Shout outs to Matt.
Yeah. Matt Berry was
he's
awesome.
sweet.
Yeah.
Both experiences were awesome, but
yeah, they're like different but great because we did that all live, so like we all played at once, and that was it was hard, like without a click track or anything. It was it was tough, but it was really fun.
We recorded the first Grey Walker album we recorded with Matt.
Nice.
And then the one that we put out one last year, we did that one ourselves.
Nice.
So,
that must have been tough.
It was a learning
journey.
It was a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. We all had experience with recording and producing in the past, but it was definitely a much bigger project than we had taken on.
Mm-hmm.
Can I real quick? Can I revise my statement? Before I got with Kiwano, because he reminded me he was talking about open stages, but was jamming with a lot of really awesome people at a open stage at the Oaks.
Okay.
And,
dude.
Some shout outs I want to make.
Actually, that
Rob
was
Thomas,
the first.
Jessica, Jess Sides. That's what she goes by. Sean Hummel, Steve Duffy, some people that got me back into music, and just wanted to
Got you back into music.
Got me back into music.
Okay.
I had not been playing for like a couple years.
So
as of like a year ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what the fuck was up with that?
I don't know. I've been away from school. It was just like I don't know. Life got in the way. I mean, music didn't work for me at first, and I didn't really like get anything to really take off for me after school, and so I went a different path. Did some machining. I'm still a machinist.
Yeah.
And just I don't know. That's the way things happen. But
There's
I'm
nothing
happy
wrong
to
with
be
that.
playing again now.
Yeah.
Here we
Yeah.
are, man.
Yeah.
Shredding the game. That's what I'm talking about.
You know, that happens in life. Sometimes you take steps away from things. It's just
makes you appreciate it all the more when you come back, right?
Exactly.
so
Timing's right now, so I'm just rolling with it.
Yeah.
you go.
So was it like a situation where your friends got you back into doing some music stuff, and then you started looking for bands to play with, and that's how you ended up?
Yeah, mainly just old friends, some of whom that I mentioned that just reconnected with and started, just like the jamming in the basement type of thing and just playing again.
That's the other really cool thing that I kind of envy about bands or musicians that are in that social circle that you're in. We don't get jam nights with metal bands. It doesn't happen. It's a lot harder to network in that community. Like all you need to do is all you can do is really just go to other shows and hope that, somebody in one of those bands is not already in 4 other bands and is down to play in your fucking band. It's funny. I feel like anytime a metal band breaks up in Pittsburgh, it's kind of like this thing where like everybody's ears
Free
perk
agents,
and they're like, all right, let's get them. Exactly.
Little draft action.
Totally. You know what I mean?
That's funny.
With the Boogie Funk Daydream EP, again, release date on Valentine's Day, February 14th, and then a release show a couple days after, February 16th at Cativo.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is on the show? I imagine it's probably some of the Three River Circus family, probably to some extent. Not really?
No. Well, I mean, there's like they'll like the other acts. So it's the Chloe Weiss Collective.
Okay, I'm not familiar with
and
them.
Then she's great. She plays in like a band called Working Breed too. I think.
I've heard that name. Yeah,
they're super sweet. But and then the Moat Rats as well. Moat Rats are good friends. Our tenor sax player Justin Menzino. I'm going to gloss over what I was going to say. Justin Menzino plays with them. So yeah, they're great. It's going to be a lot of awesome music that night.
There'll be some guest appearances too.
I understand. Yeah. It's really funny now. I feel like it's so rare for me to meet somebody that's in one band anymore. Everybody is like,
it's pretty true.
It's just
we're all mentally running through everyone in our band, and everyone's in 2 at least.
I sometimes wonder that we might be shooting ourselves in the foot sometimes because we're like oversaturating our own market by creating more bands to play.
Yeah, I
but if you're doing bands in different styles and shit like that, then it's a different, different thing.
Different intentions.
Don't you want to kind of play every style though a little bit?
Totally. I mean, I it's just a thing that like I'm always analyzing and thinking about things, and if is this really the best idea? Like there was a time when I was playing in 3 different bands that were all like in like a metal category. I mean, they were, if you want a subgenre of the metal, they were different, but it was all guitars and screaming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was too much. It was fun for a while, but it's just a lot to manage.
Yeah.
Like doing all that.
Keeping all those different tunes like separate, categorized in your mind. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then like you're trying to book shows and all this scheduling conflicts. I had 3 jobs at the time too. So I was in 3 bands, I had 3 jobs, and I was doing like my hip hop shit too.
Wow, man.
That was a nightmare.
Do you have time to breathe or what?
Oh yeah, I did. But I was breathing into microphones playing.
Yeah, there you go. Right on. No, actually 4 members of Kiwano Sour are also in Boateng. So there's like when it's kind of one of the other, like
so 4 of the 6, huh?
Yeah, 4 to 6, and then it's just deciding. Like we're all getting together no matter what, but are we working on boat tank stuff or Kiwano stuff? Sometimes, sometimes
the
like
productivity is important. So is there
that.
any other stuff, coming up, let's say like post the release show? Like what else do you guys have on the plate right now?
Yeah,
A lot.
a lot in the works.
In terms of upcoming gigs, we have several in March, including 3-1 at the Park House, 3-9 Full Pint, 3-21 at Gooskey's, and 3-29 at the Bushnell. But we're currently working on really expanding our working set. We're looking to be able to perform much longer sets, like 3-hour sets,
Start getting paid for
multiple
some
sets.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's,
but also
ultimately nice.
just to be able to,
Don't
expand
lie.
our
Mix up-
You're just in it for the money.
Dude, you can that way we can play
Come
like
on.
Yeah,
3
yeah.
shows in a week or something with different set lists.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
that's sick.
So if it's
Hell yeah.
if they're all in Pittsburgh, say like people can come every night and get a different show.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, you don't know what you're gonna
Yeah,
get.
we don't want to
Yeah.
play the same thing every time you
And
come and see us. We want
No,
to give
yeah.
we want to give you a special night.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that being able to be fluid with the live sets keeps it fun for not only the attendees and your fans or your friends that you drag to every
Right.
show, you know what I mean? Whatever it is. But it keeps it fresh for yourselves too. And
Yeah,
I think
no
that
doubt.
it's good just to remember how to play those songs and play them in a live environment, because for me, I feel like I can practice something in 1,000 times, but it always feels different in a live environment.
Yeah.
So being able to play that stuff actually out in front of people is like really the only way to really get that stuff locked down.
Yeah, and also
I
I
agree.
feel like if you're playing the same songs all the time, I feel like you'll tend, or at least I tend to just like play in the same way every time. Like figure out, eventually dial something in. Is like, this works. That's how I'm going to play it. But like if you rotate the songs and then have a little time in between each one, like when you come back to that too, maybe you'll do it a little differently because
Yeah.
you have all that stuff in between. So it's fun to kind
I've been
ahead
doing
with
this rap shit for a real long time, and I have a shit ton of material, and I'm like trying to start going back into the back catalog and like reintroducing some of this old stuff
yeah, man,
into it now.
That's
But
what I'm
it's
talking about.
it's hard because like I didn't have a band before. Now I do have a band, so a lot of the stuff I want to reach into is like stuff that I did before we had the band, so it'd be like a much bigger thing. So I think it'll be fun instead of like taking a break from writing new stuff and keep on moving forward, just kind of revisiting some of that stuff that got abandoned and kind of
Yeah.
give it its proper time to shine.
The modern twist on fucking what you want to do with it now,
Uh-huh. With
Different style.
songwriting individually with you two, like outside of Kiwano Sour, outside of your other projects, what's that like? Do you take the time to just work on any ideas, or you just kind of focus on the bands?
Yeah, I mean with the bands, with all bands I play, and it's like I'm mainly just do guitar stuff, but like my roots are like folk music, or not roots, but like I was really into that when I first started playing guitar, and so if I just like think of some lyrics, I'll just pick up an acoustic guitar and just write a folk song, and I really really enjoy doing that. So that's a nice kind of separate outlet, songwriting wise. But other than that, if I just come up with like a sweet guitar thing, I usually just bring it to one of the bands.
What about you, Rob?
I don't know. It's an interesting thing to try to explain, but what I do know is that when it comes to writing stuff on my own, I'm not that's not exactly my forte. But given a group project,
You're more of a team player.
right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's my strength, is kind of coming in and seeing what needs done, or if it needs an extra layer, or like refining things. Is what I'm really good at. I used to do a lot of arranging. Well, not a lot, but some arranging in college.
Yeah.
And kind of have that kind of ear for like if you give me like the ictus or like the idea at the beginning, like I can help you make a really good project. But
Yeah.
that's where I kind of struggle is the idea at the beginning.
Yeah, you always know just the perfect tweaks to make to just, make it punch that
I'll
much
stick
more
my
harder.
fingers in your stuff.
It's like once you're
And make it feel so good.
you have a hard time finding the entrance, but once you're in the maze, you can find the way out.
Yeah, that's
That's
an
a
apt
beautiful way
analogy.
to put it.
We've been talking about all of this recording and going to studios and stuff like that. And Sam had mentioned to me something about building a studio. Is that something that you guys are doing?
Yeah, it's in the
Sour
works.
Tank Studios.
Sour
Has a
Tank
name
Studio.
already?
Keep your eyes open. It's gonna
So
be
what can you
sweet.
tell me about this? Like what's the goal to like record yourself, record other bands, record people, like all your projects and all
the
that
above.
jazz?
Yes.
All the above.
So where are you doing this at? Like at your practice space or another location? At
That's
the
practice
space?
Yep.
Tight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we've been investing in a lot of gear to do it. We're in the process of getting a whisper booth or some kind of vocal booth, but we're very close and super excited about it. In multiple realms. I mean, it'll be huge to just be able to record our own rehearsals in terms of just refining. And,
that's the
Being able to
like-
remember jams.
that's
totally.
definitely huge. And there's multiple other options that arise with having those capabilities, but not to mention just being able to. But I guess what I'm saying is I'm mostly excited about it for our own Kiwano purposes,
totally. No, I think that
for our own band purposes.
it's so crucial for bands to be able to track themselves in some way and record themselves and just get that understanding of the process.
Yeah.
I think that it's a really good idea for bands if they're doing like a big project to do that with a producer and have other engineers so you're not focusing on 2 or 3 different jobs at once. You know what I mean? You just kind of want to show up and play and have somebody else record. But still being able to have those resources at your fingertips, you learn a lot. And then the next time you're in the studio, if you're working with somebody else, like you can actually offer input on like things on like a very technical level where say like, hey, I want to try this or do this plugin or this effect. And like, let's try putting the mic here because, we did that there. And like, it got the sound that I wanted from it. Like it just, it'll expand your brain. And even outside of Kiwano Sour or any other projects, it's just fun to learn.
Yeah,
indeed.
Yeah, like I didn't know anything about
Same, dude. I know nothing about
all
technology.
of this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a nice, like, comfortable, risk-free environment to learn in and like put the time into trial and error.
Those that
figuring out why stuff works and why it doesn't.
I got into making music through electronic music and making beats and stuff like that. That was my gateway. So I have a perspective that some other people don't have where like the only way I could make music is actually by recording it. Like, you don't really pick up a beat machine and just jam on it. I mean, you can, but it only goes so far. Like to actually structure songs together,
Right.
You have to record it. So I pretty much started recording immediately. And then whenever I started getting into playing in bands, I always had this mindset like, because I was so used to the way I would write songs would be me recording part by part and then moving things around. And I was like essentially demoing as I was writing simultaneously. So
Right.
I always tried to do that with every single band that I played in. And for a long time, a lot of people thought I was crazy because they just weren't used to recording like that or writing like that. So it can be weird, but like now I totally get it. But at the time when I was like younger, I just didn't understand it because that was the way my brain worked. Was like, that's how you write songs. You record them.
That's how. Yeah.
But that's not how everybody writes songs. That was just me.
That's like a different. I feel like you can take your time, think about each section individually, see what you want to do.
I mean, there's positives and negatives to everything, but overall, the more that you know, the better off you are. It doesn't hurt you to have more resources, other than if you have so many resources that you can't decide what to do or when to do it.
Overload.
Option paralysis. That can be a fucking problem. With the release of Boogie Funk Daydream, the EP, I'm calling it Boogie Funk Daydream, the EP, and I want to see that on. I hope that's on the album artwork, the EP. You know, like the movie. Oh no, that's
yeah.
it. It should be
Okay.
Boogie Funk Daydream, the movie. That's actually a good question. Music videos. What you guys doing? Any of that kind of stuff? Like for the album, you got anything set up?
Ideas are brewing, definitely. No, like
Nothing in the can right now. Though.
right,
Just,
right. It's definitely in our brains, you know.
yeah, you got to get some video of, even if it's just performing. You know, like good performance videos so
Yeah,
people can.
a nice live video would be sick.
Yeah, people seem to really like that shit. I can post fucking song like links to songs all fucking day.
Yeah,
But if I have a video of us just playing, like, you know, it seems like people actually pay attention to that stuff. I
We
think
have
people
one
just like
live
watching
video.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, we do.
There may be more coming.
Tight.
But other than that, for videos, no, mainly just a lot of concepts.
Yeah.
Me and Dylan get nerdy about that stuff sometimes, but
It's fun to think about.
it'll be fun to make one happen soon.
Yeah. I always have 1,000 ideas for music videos, but my resources are super limited.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I was about to say I don't like know how to work a camera or
Yeah.
anybody that does have any of that stuff. So
I mean, like, I
wouldn't know
have
where to
the,
start.
like I'm in a situation where I have the equipment. Like I have we're looking at a camera right now. It works. It's a camera. It's not bad. But also, like, how am I gonna shoot my own video that I'm in?
Very carefully.
Just put it on
Cleverly.
like just put it on a tripod.
Robots.
Put it on a tripod and wrap in front of it. And also, I think there's going back to what I said earlier about it being important for bands to work with, you know, outside producers and things like that. How I think that's cool. I think it's also a good idea for, you know, bands to work with people that actually do music videos.
Yeah,
that have experience,
like,
because
like directors and
like they know what, for one, they know what they're doing, and two, like if it's on a local level, they probably are trying to do more stuff so they could get
Yeah.
better, right? You know what I mean?
the
Like,
hell, you know,
True.
artists helping each other.
exactly.
In that sense.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of people that do things. It's just a matter of
Indeed.
linking up with them and, you know, making a decision on some ridiculous idea and figuring
Yeah,
out how
yeah.
you're gonna
Narrowing
make it work.
down.
Yeah.
Narrowing it down.
Yeah. With shows outside of Pittsburgh, you guys got anything on the horizon in terms of, you know, getting in the van or multiple vehicles or however you're gonna do it to get out there?
It's another thing we're really excited about. You know, I've got a lot of commitments, you know, here locally, but think about some weekend trips. Move around. Yeah, spit it out. Weekend trips.
Yeah. Hey, that's better than nothing, you know. I feel like with a band like Kiwano Sour, the style of music that you play and the level of proficiency that you perform it at, there's a lot of potential platforms for you guys to like fit in a lot of different spaces, you know what I mean? Whether it's, you know, you do a 2-hour set at a bar some night and just fucking, you know, rock the house and make a little bit of money at the end of the night, or just playing a fucking half-hour set at a house show somewhere. Like, it'll be real easy for you to figure out weekends because you can apply yourselves to a lot of different live environments.
Yeah.
Versus like the metal band where it's like, you know, we have very specific things that we could do. We could try to play some things, but like, you're the kind of band that like, they could be playing, and even if somebody's like maybe not super into funk, it's like, oh, okay, well, there's a live band playing. It's fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's decent background noise at worst. But if like you go to a bar and like you don't want to hear a metal band and there's a fucking metal band playing, like that could ruin
that's
your
all
night.
You're hearing, yeah.
I'm totally empathetic to that. You know what I mean? It's not as it's not as welcoming for some
Easy,
people.
right.
So definitely keep that in mind, and, you know, take advantage of your ability to kind of be chameleons while on the road. And like, you know,
Bring a hat rack.
fuck, I mean, worst case scenario, you guys could show up at a fucking open mic night and probably at least
go.
network a bit, you know?
Yeah,
like,
if it's like a new city or something, that
Yeah.
wouldn't be a bad idea.
yeah.
It's like a nice like trial run too. Of like, it's not like you're going on tour. You know, it's just you're going for a weekend. You know.
Yeah.
Just reaching new years, you know.
Right.
One show at a time.
It's it's
But you're not
the
signing
pennies
up
add
your
up.
life for it
The
for a
pennies
couple
add up.
months.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know of like very many bands that do those like multiple month tours anymore. Like unless it's like, very, very proficient bands. But even most of those bands, if you look at their schedules, they still have like it's like, oh, they're only playing Thursday through Sunday, and then they're flying back home, and then they do the next Thursday through Sunday. Like there's bands that are able to do that crazy fucking shit like that.
Yeah. It's
Or
wild.
like, they tour for 2 weeks off for a week, tour for 2 weeks off for a week. Because they have have those
usually-
resources. I don't think there's definitely bands that are out there grinding it nonstop, but
that would be tough. That's honestly that's the goal for me, but it would be,
I mean, I think it's just hard unless like
pricing on
it depends on your
taxing.
market. Like I always feel so bad for bands that hit me up that are like they're trying to come through here and play a show on a Monday night, and I'm just like,
not
Like-
worth it.
Pittsburgh on a Monday night, like fuck, like if it's somebody that I know, I'm just like, look, I would rather if you guys are coming through town, like I would rather you just come. You can stay at my place and we'll just fucking go get some food and fucking hang out.
Yeah,
Like, just take the
just
night
jam
off,
it, yeah.
just take the night off because otherwise you're going to end up at a fucking venue playing to
Disappointed.
nobody,
Disappointed.
just wasting your time. You're better off getting burritos and chilling
Yeah.
if you want to do that. Otherwise,
For
just
real.
keep driving to the next city.
I mean, if it's at the right spot and promoted right, I don't know. I feel like I've been to a cool Monday
it's-
show.
it's not
Hey,
impossible,
yeah, they happen,
But
but
it can be rough. It just depends on the
Yeah.
style of music. You know what I
absolutely,
mean? Like,
absolutely.
and style of music and, like, fucking people will hit you up like 3 weeks in advance. Can we get a
Yeah,
show on a Monday?
that's
Like,
like-
bro, that ain't happening.
Sorry, yeah,
The people that are there on that Monday are all about it, though.
that's true. Yeah, that's-
They're
that's
either
true.
all about it or they're extra miserable because they got dragged out and it's a fucking Monday.
Fair enough.
With playing shows a lot in Pittsburgh, this was something that you kind of glossed over because you mentioned your dates coming up through like March.
Yes.
And it seems like there's almost a show every week. There's some people that are very paranoid about oversaturating the market to business speak. But how do you guys feel about it? Or is that again part of the reason why you're looking to get longer sets so you don't have to worry about playing the same set every week and still being able to play out a whole bunch?
Are you talking like reaching
Like you're playing so much in Pittsburgh? Is that something that you worry about as a band? There's some bands that are like that, like, oh, you should only play like your hometown like once every other month, but then they don't
Oh,
ever
I don't know why.
ever. I know people that are like that, and I guess
Oh.
that's fine if you're playing out of town a lot,
yeah,
but they're
I
also
guess.
not playing out of town, and it's
Well,
like,
that-
fuck, how are you ever
Yeah,
gonna get
I
good as
could
a
see
band if
that
you're
down-
not fucking playing live?
Right.
I could see that down the road, but right now, no, we're just pretty much playing around Pittsburgh and,
Yeah, and
and
no,
enjoying it.
Yeah, and just like honing in the sound, and I think expanding the set and getting more material and being able to rotate the sets, like we were talking about earlier, not playing the same stuff every night is like that keeps it worth it. I mean, I feel like I already said this, but
Yeah, I understand. I feel like I feel like it's also the way that I look at it is even though we're in one city, sometimes it feels like a half dozen different cities because of all the little bubbles.
yeah.
Like the people that, will go see you at Cativo, is not the same crowd that's going to be in a basement in Oakland. And that's
or
not
at
the same.
like the club cafe. Or
Yeah, that's
something.
not the same crowd that's going to be
Like the people in the
in
south.
South
I
Side.
know a lot of people in the south side that don't like to leave the south side.
Yeah.
So you gotta.
Yeah, anytime I have a show in Southside, immediately I'm like, okay, like who do I know that never leaves D's that I can maybe get to leave D's for like a couple hours to come watch us down the street?
Right.
And then you hit up those people.
right.
And then if I'm playing a Cativo, it's like, okay, well, who the
Who
fuck do I know on this side of town?
Lawrenceville? Yeah.
It's so I think in that way, it's really easy to like stay consistent in playing in Pittsburgh and not
Burning out.
not burnout. And if you're able to combine that with having like rotating live sets and things like that,
Mhm.
that's probably like a killer combination.
Yeah, and then like once we like the plan is this like once spring hits into the summer to do, you know, weekends out in different cities like Buffalo. I think we're playing like Philly and West Virginia or something. I think there was a Massachusetts. There's a list right here.
Yeah.
Use your tools.
Harrisburg. Oh, that's the Philly trip. Yeah. And festivals too. We're gonna be, you know, try to get on some local festivals.
I was just asking about that, like if you guys were going to be doing any of that stuff. So I know some of that stuff's starting to get organized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're putting in applications, you know, and so when we play just like a, you know, like a Cativo or a Club Cafe show or something during the week, you know, in the summer, or like, you know, Pittsburgh, we're just honing in that sound to take elsewhere, you know, make sure it sounds really good and tight and stuff, you know.
Yeah, I really, really stand by. Like, I think that, you know, practicing is super important, obviously, but you really never learn the songs until you play them live. And the more that you can play them live in front of people in an environment that you're not totally in control of, like,
I think
when things go wrong, like, how do you react to them?
Exactly. That's adapt? A big part, dude. I
learn more from every show than any practice if you put them, you know, pound for pound or whatever you like to say, for sure. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, and I like when I see bands live, I kind of like to watch for that, like see if they like mess up at all in any way, just to see how they react, you know, because that's like I've seen like somebody break a string or something and just like get so down and like pissed and shit, you know what I mean? And like that's when you see that at a show, you're like, damn, when I'm playing, I'm never gonna do that, because like they just like takes me out of the moment, you know, seeing that. But like if that happens and somebody's like, oh shit, and just like go, you know, changes it and like, jam guys, you know.
Also what the other guys do around them, because you know, like cover me, I broke my string, you know, like that kind of thing. Yeah, for sure.
So, and that's just part of what you learn when you play. So the more you play, the more you learn.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
So, wrapping up, you know, one last time, the Boogie Funk Daydream, the album, the movie, the EP.
Whatever
the
dream.
Is. Yeah, the dream. That's Valentine's Day, 2019, February 14th, right? Mm-hmm. And the release show, February 16th at Cativo. Shout out, who's performing on that one more time for me?
Chloe Weiss Collective and the Moat Rats.
Word.
And Kiwano Sour as well. Us will be playing there that
night. Cool. Yeah. So, you know, keep an ear out for that. I'm imagining that will be across the internets, all the digital platforms and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out.
This episode's going up on February 11th, so it'll be just a couple of days before the release.
Perfect.
So
cool.
That week. So yeah, check it out. You know, go onto your music platform of preference and type in Kiwano Sour and listen to the grooves.
Mm-hmm.
It'll make you move, or whatever your bio was. I don't remember.
Something like that. There's some rhyming.
You'll find it.
What's because moving makes you feel alive.
Yeah, it was something like that. And social media, you're on all that shit, right? There's a Facebook page.
Yeah, Facebook, probably Instagram, Tumbleweed.
Tumbleweeds, yeah.
I don't know
Tinder.
If there's any other shit.
Tinder.
That's interesting.
Cool. Can you imagine if there was like a band Tinder?
Yeah.
Like
how that's how you book shows.
Yeah.
It's a gross way to live your life.
That'd was
interesting.
I just watched that documentary on the Fire Festival. Did either of you watch that?
No, I haven't heard about it.
Oh man, that was that big music festival that they were trying to have in the Bahamas. That was supposed to be like for a weekend, have this exclusive getaway and get to hang out with the bands and these supermodels and all this stuff. But it was like a big disaster. And like this dude scammed a ton of people out of a shit ton of money. He's in prison right now. And this was recently. This happened like a year or two ago.
I bet you're going to make a movie about that.
Well, they made the documentary.
Oh, I guess. Yeah.
The documentary, it's if you want a crash course in like what not to do when booking a music event. But the reason why I thought about it is because this company got their start. Fire was supposed to be an app that was essentially going to be like Uber, but for booking bands. Where like, you know, how do I get a hold if I want to book Ariana Grande for a show? Like she would be an artist signed up through Fire, and you could go on, you could see the dates that she was available through this app, and then book her for the fee. I mean, it would be like an exclusive thing. It wouldn't be like just anybody could use it, but that was the idea, was to put like more transparency between concert promoters and the artists, kind of cut out a lot of middle bullshit.
Yeah, not a
which
bad
on the
concept.
surface, that's a fucking fantastic idea.
Absolutely.
But along the way, they decided the way they were going to promote this event or promote this app was to do this festival. And the festival fucking took over everything and ruined the whole fucking thing.
Oh, man.
It's on, if either of you do Netflix, it's worth watching. It's pretty entertaining.
Fire Festival?
Yeah, Fyre.
Okay.
I think the documentary is just called Fire.
Cool.
Definitely worth watching. And
I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, and I think that's about it. I think we went over everything.
Cool.
Dylan, Rob, thanks for coming by and chatting up. Was there anything else on that fucking paper that we didn't
Check
go over?
Didn't look at the paper.
I think so.
You remembered all the gigs. That's sick. Good memory, man.
I think he was just looking at it from very far away.
Yeah.
Like I saw him, he was kind of like eyeballing
looking down his beard at it.
Tight. So that's it. I'll do my outro after this, and thank you guys for coming over.
Thanks for having
Happy
us.
Sunday.
Thank you for having
Peace
us,
out.
man.
Cool.